Hey everybody, and welcome to The Breakthrough Effect. I'm your host, Jared Sebesta. I've had two successful careers. First, I was an award-winning TV meteorologist, and then a financial marketing strategist. I was living the dream, making good money, but inside I was craving for something more, something bigger. So I stopped deferring life and I started creating exactly the life I was searching for. I doubled down on unlearning old mindsets and creating big breakthroughs for me and my family. And now I'm bringing that same transformation to you. Let's understand the rules of this game. Let's get clarity. Let's stop chasing and start becoming. This is the Breakthrough Effect.
I think the lowest place I've ever been, the darkest, was people think that being hit by an SUV and going through 34 surgeries to save my leg from amputation was the hardest part of my journey. And it actually hasn't been. The hardest part of my journey and the lowest point and the lie I told myself was when I was living out of a bottle. I was never a drinker and I could not get out of pain. And so I used alcohol to self-medicate, and it became a problem. I went from athlete to becoming an alcoholic. And at my lowest point, I remember sitting there going, my husband could find another wife. My kids could find another mom. I was ready to give up. And so that was the lie that I told myself.
All right, today on The Breakthrough Effect, I am talking with my dear friend, Amberly Lago, a woman who is living the California dream, a successful fitness instructor, professional dancer, athlete, devoted wife, and mother of two when a motorcycle accident changed everything in an instant. She survived, but surviving and thriving are two very different things, and that's where Amberly's real story of resilience begins. Now, as a best-selling author of her latest book, Joy Through the Journey, international keynote speaker, host of the Amberly Lago Show, she's been featured on the Today Show and covered by People magazine. Amberly has cracked the code on what separates those who survive tragedy from those who actually transcend it. Get ready for a breakthrough conversation about why your greatest tragedy could be your greatest triumph. Please welcome to the show, Amberly Lago. Amberly, thanks for joining me today.
Wow, Jared, thank you. That was like the most amazing introduction. Can you
That's all you. That's all you. That's not me. That's you.
You're awesome. Thank you. I'm so excited to be here.
I'm honored to chat with you. Thank you for your story. Thank you for sharing that with me and our audience. I resonate so much with triumph over tragedy. I've lost people in my near family recently, so I'm so excited to get this conversation started. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
What is Amberly's superpower?
You know, I always thought my superpower was resilience or grit, but I had someone tell me, your superpower is you're a connector. You connect people. And I was like, no, that's not my superpower. They're like, no, it is. And then the next call I got, it was a video that somebody sent me, and it was some friends that I had that all went to an event, and there were probably 15 women in the room, and they were all had the camera around like, how did you get here? How did you meet? How did you meet? And every single person in the room had met through me. And I was like, okay, God, maybe that is my superpower. Maybe it is connection, but I think that we aren't meant to do things alone. I think that, we can be strong alone, but together we're unstoppable. And as you say, and as you as well, Jared, you lock arms with people. And I think that it's just entrepreneurship for sure is more fun, but, connection and community is what has enabled me to stay sober. I couldn't do it without my, sober brothers or sisters. I got sober in 2016. And it's what allows me, I think, to thrive through entrepreneurship, because that is not for the faint of heart, for sure.
Let's touch on that for a second. I've now been in the biz of being, an entrepreneur now going on a year and a half. It is scary. It is lonely. Isn't it crazy how alone you feel? Just touch on that for a second. How have you, I don't want to say conquered that, but how have you experienced that feeling of being on an island and awake at 3:00 in the morning, maybe hyperventilating like I've done many times in the past?
Yeah, well,
talk about some of those moments that you've had through your journey.
Yeah, well, we were just talking about that before we hit record. I think sometimes we need to hit record on the behind the
I
scenes
know, I know.
talk.
Why don't we
You
do
know what
that?
I mean?
Yeah.
But yeah, we were talking about community and entrepreneurship. And when I first started, so I had a successful business in the fitness industry, and it was easy. I mean, life got kind of comfortable because I had a set schedule. I had trainers that worked for me. Everything was good. And when I lost everything, lost the business, lost everything after my motorcycle accident, I started to think, well, the first thing I did was I thought, well, what am I going to do now? And I thought, well, what brings me joy? And working with people and seeing them level up and rise and shine. I mean, I've been and before that, before I was a fitness trainer, I was a dance instructor. So I've always worked with people and it brings me such joy. So I started with that. And then I thought, well, I want to write a book. And everybody said, "Oh, you will not write a book. That's crazy. You're the fitness girl." And truth be told, I didn't even own a computer at the time. But when I had all these naysayers and people that were closest to me say, "It can't be done. You can't do that. You don't have a college education," I was like, well, thank you for the motivation. Then I'm definitely going to do it. And I started writing, and I wrote 90% of my book on a notepad. Like, I'm big on notepads. I have like several sitting here on the desk. And I found a publisher. I found an editor, and he told me what kind of laptop to buy, got a publisher, got it all, but I had no idea what I was doing. And I did feel so alone. And the day my book launched, it actually launched. I got a call from NBC. They wanted to have Megyn Kelly wanted to interview me. And by the way, they found me, like they saw a post on Instagram. I didn't have a huge Instagram following. I still don't. I mean, everything is relative, right? And that's how, I started to build things. Was I just started sharing my story, had no idea what I was doing. My book becomes a bestseller, had no idea like that I was going to get flooded with emails and, instant message, direct messages, Facebook messages, and all these things. And I felt so alone. And I was like, I need to find someone who has walked before me. And that's when I was like, I need to find a mastermind. So I did find a mastermind. It was a very small group, but the importance of finding the right group, because I have wasted a lot of money and a lot of time hiring a coach who was a good salesman, who said that he could help me with this, that, and the other. And lo and behold, he was just a good salesman and couldn't help me with those things. I'd joined a mastermind and paid thousands of dollars, and I thought it was going to be an intimate group. And I get in, and it's like hundreds of people. It was everybody this lady had ever coached, all on one call. So I just felt like I was this little square on a screen on Zoom. And so I think it's so important to find someone who has walked just a couple of steps before you. They know how to do it. They know they've been through what you're going through, and hire them as a coach, hire them as a mentor, or, sometimes people mentor people and it doesn't cost anything. And so, but it's so important to have somebody and to have those friends. I mean, we were just talking about, I'm so excited for your event because I get to see you and Arjun and Renee, who are, like, I would say, some of my best friends. Like Arjun he's been in my home for a retreat. Renee has spoken on my stage at my annual event, and it's like having friends like that you count on, or like you and we can just talk and we can offer counsel. And I say counsel because there's a lot of people that have opinions out there. And the difference is, people that have opinions, they've never done what you want to do. They've never done it. It's just their opinion. Maybe it's their fear coming out telling you can't do it, or it can't be done, or you're crazy for even thinking you can do it. But when you have somebody that offers counsel, they have done it. They've experienced. They can tell you, oh, don't do this. It's a waste of money or time, or it's not a good thing, or do this. This is what's going to work. And that's what you need to find, those people in your life who can offer counsel.
Well, first of all, thank you for that. And I could not agree more. And I resonate with everything you said. Everything changed for me when I like stepped out and found people that could help me, because this road that we try to break through into can be very lonely. But first of all, thank you for mentioning that. Yes, shameless plug. If you're listening to this before November 20th, 2025, Miss Amberly is coming all the way to Minneapolis for my breakthrough event, my first live event. And I agree with you. Like, I'm not just saying this because we're recording right now. What I'm looking forward to the most is getting my friends together. Like, isn't that funny? Like when we were kids, we just hung out with our friends, and then we're adults, and it's like we just can't wait to just hang out.
In a whole event to get together.
Exactly. We have to literally like create these events so we have an excuse to come to get together. I cannot thank you enough for coming all the way to Minneapolis in November of all months to do so. So I thank you in advance for doing that. By the way, if you're not coming to this event, please do. If you're in driving distance or flying distance, please consider coming, because it's going to be an incredible room. I cannot wait to share the stage with you. Talk about that breakthrough moment. What was interesting is that you said you had this, what you would probably consider a breakthrough, like where it's like, bam, I got discovered by Megyn Kelly and they saw me on an Instagram post, but I still felt alone. How have you been able to create those? Because that's like, what's the secret sauce? How do you create those inflection points in your life where you go from here to here like that?
Oh gosh. Well, thank you for asking that, because it seems like it's just like that gets so quick, but it's not. It's behind the scenes every single day, working towards your goal, baby stepping it sometimes. And, I made a commitment to myself that I was like, well, I didn't have a lot of money to hire some big branding company, or, I had a very small publisher when I first started. And I thought, what can I do? Still, because a lot of people go, oh, I don't make excuses. I don't have the money, or I don't, lucky them, they get to work with that person. Well, I thought, well, I don't really have the money right now, not yet, but what can I do for now? And so I thought, well, social media is free. I'm going to start posting every day. And by the way, I did not even know how to work Instagram. My daughter had made an account for me, and I only had that account so I could basically stalk her. And I was like, well, I better figure this out. I'm like, what's a hashtag? And I, by the way, leave my crappy, horrible post up from when I first started. If you scroll all the way down, you can see how bad it was. I didn't know how to do a caption. I still barely know how to use Canva, by the way. But you know what? I just thought I am going to add value every single day. And what I did was, when I felt lucky enough or blessed enough that somebody would comment on my post, I would comment back, and then I would go to their post and I would comment on their post. And my intention was to build real connections and real community. And my family thought I was crazy. My husband was like, what are you doing scrolling on social media? I was like, I'm not scrolling. I said, I have a plan. I'm building community. And you know what? Nobody really believed it. My husband, I don't think, even believed it until my very first big speaking event. By the way, I got through a DM on Instagram. I reached out. I saw that Mel Robbins was speaking at this event. And so I suggest, if you're listening and you want to get on stages, like, follow the people who are speaking, find out where they're speaking, go to those events, reach out to the event planner. I reached out. I think there's ignorance and bliss, because I didn't know not to reach out. I reached out through DM and I left a message with my phone number, and they called back. And they said, hey, we've got all the speakers we need, by the way. This is Jay Shetty, Lewis Howes, Brenda Burchard, Mel Robbins, like the top speakers were speaking at this event. And I'm like, hey, let me come help you with your event. I can do anything you need. I can help sweep the floors. Oh, I can speak, anything you need. Well, they messaged me back because they wanted me to help promote the event and maybe sell some tickets. And they said, hey, if you help promote the event, we'll give you a VIP ticket. And I did a little pushback, and I said, well, you know what? I would thank you for that offer, but if I'm going to tell my friends on social media, because that's what I look at them as, friends on social media, about this event. I want to tell them to come to the event because I'm going to be there and I want to see them. Is it okay if I sell books in the back of the room and I can tell them, come to this event, meet me here, I want to hug your neck? And that, just asking that question, guess what? They let me come and they gave me 5 minutes on stage. And that 5 minutes changed everything. And so I went off on a rant.
No,
Sorry.
it's great. I love it. Keep going.
I went way off topic.
No, it's
But
not.
the thing is, it's like, start where you are, you have, and you can. And I used that, social media for real connections. And by the way, my husband finally got the importance of it when I spoke at that event. They hired me to come speak at their next event that was in LA. And this time I got to do a full keynote. And there was a lady running across the LA Convention Center with her suitcase. And she comes up, my husband's standing beside me, and I've got a booth with my books, and she's crying. And I hugged her, and she had flown all the way from Canada to come meet. And I'm not saying that like, oh, I'm just saying it was a turning point in my husband's eyes. And he's like, you mean you actually came to see my wife? Like, you from Canada? And it was the first time he got it. Like, wow, this social media thing is a way to connect. And every book signing, I didn't say, come to this book signing and buy my book. No, I actually really wanted to meet people that I knew from social media. So I would say, hey, I'm going to be at Books and Books in Miami. I don't know anybody here. Please don't leave me alone. Will you come have a cup of coffee? Just come hug my neck, come say hello. And it worked. And so I think that building that connection and unity and having fun with it along the way is going to move the needle on your business.
Beautifully said. You are so real and authentic. I love that, man. There's so much to dissect. It's incredible to me how many people want to build something, they want to create, they want to grow, they want to have the breakthrough moment like you've had multiple times, and they won't go on social media and talk about their message. And I think that you just illustrated a perfect point. If you don't know what to do, if you don't know where to start, just start there. Just start there. Just seriously, just start talking about it. It's great. I think people are afraid. I think you would agree. They're afraid. What am I going to say? I'm going to look stupid. I'm going to be cringy. That's what all the kids are saying now. It is going to be cringy, right, Amberly? Like, no matter what you do, it's going to be cringy, and that's okay. But just get it out there, right?
Yeah, and by the way, I still don't know what I'm doing. I had a call with a friend who's big on it, and she actually called me for advice on how to speak on more stages. And I'm talking to her and I'm giving her all these tips and telling her these things. And let me introduce you to this person and give you my media guy or my videographer and all these things. And I said something about, but I still don't know what I'm doing. And she goes, yes, you do. And I'm like, actually, no, I'm still figuring it out. I'm just sharing with what I've learned along the way. And I love to grow and learn because I know I have a lot to learn. And if we can figure it out together, that's why, I'm so grateful to have friends like you, because we can brainstorm and, figure things out together. And so you don't feel alone in the journey.
Amen. Amen. Our mutual friend, Renee Rodriguez, who is also coming to my event, I went through his Amplify training, which I highly recommend. Plug for Renee Rodriguez. Go through his training. It's absolutely incredible. There was a time he had me in front of the group, which is a small group. He had me telling the story, and he was getting deep, and I started to weep in front of everybody. He started to weep, and he said, "Why are you weeping?" This is, again, I'm the one speaker in the group who's supposed to have this all figured out, to your point. And I said, you know why? And it took me a while to get this out. I said, I still feel like an 8-year-old kid who doesn't have his dad, who is still trying to figure life out. He wept. I wept. The people wept. And Renee said, he goes, do you look at me and think that I have it figured out? And I'm like, yes. Actually, I do. You know what I mean? The guy's got like 500 million followers on Instagram, and he's been in this business for 30 years. He's he's global traveler, and I'm like, yes, I actually think that you do have it figured out, Renee. And he said the exact same thing. I don't. And so I think that that is just it's such a good word for people to hear, no matter where they are in their life, their journey, their business. We would be foolish. You would be foolish to say like, well, this is how you do it. And the people that say that, I would almost warn people, the people who are saying that this is the way,
This is how you
be,
do it.
be
Well,
really, really careful over what they're saying. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, and
Yeah.
I think there are different ways of doing things, and you have to try it and get out there and just go for it, and then you figure it out along the way. I mean, we were just talking before we hit record about masterminds, and I was like, I will share with you everything I've learned in the last 6 years of having my mastermind because I've learned a lot, and I'm still learning. And I was open with you and I said, Jared, I woke up in the middle of the night in a cold, like a sweat in the middle of the night. And I was like, oh my goodness, this one thing has to change. And that's entrepreneurship. And Arjun was at my house. I did a retreat at my house and Arjun saved the day. Let me tell you, he's amazing. And he said something that I so related to, and you probably can too. He said, if you don't feel like throwing in the towel at least once a week, then maybe you're not an entrepreneur. And I'm like, I so relate to that because there have been times that, I've wanted to give up. In fact, this past weekend, I was a speaker at an event, probably one of the hardest talks I've ever given. It was for people who have been diagnosed with CRPS, the nerve disease that I was diagnosed with after my motorcycle accident. It's caused by trauma. And I'm in a room, there's 90% of people in there have CRPS or been diagnosed like me. And I'm talking to a room of people in wheelchairs, walkers, crutches, sitting there with blankets, some with ice packs, some with hot, some like drooling. I mean, it was, you could feel the pain in the room. And I can't tell you how many people said, wow, Amberly, I had no idea. I didn't think you still had pain. I didn't know you still had pain. And that's the thing. I bring that analogy up because so often we see people, especially on social media, and we think they've got it all figured out or life is so easy, or lucky them. And you never know what somebody's going through behind the scenes. And so that's again another reason why I think it's so important to have that connection and that community. Like you have your mastermind coming up in 2026, and just for people to have that connection and that community. And because it is always hard. Now, my pain, I deal with physical pain a lot, but pain is pain. There's pain in business, pain in relationships, and there's physical pain. Pain is pain. But if we have somebody to share that with, it divides our pain. And when we can share our joy, it multiplies it.
Beautifully said. It's just incredible, and I hope people really resonate with this and get that in their soul, because that is the way. That actually, of all things, that actually is the way to view life and look at it that way. I appreciate you sharing that. We don't have a ton of time left, but I do want to talk about this. You talked about your motorcycle accident. You've shared that story thousands of times. I won't have you rehash that. Look into Amberly's story. Follow her on social media. Read her book. You'll hear all about it. You still deal with a lot of physical pain to this day after the accident. In your mind, when you're at your lowest, what is the lie that's going through your head?
When I'm at my lowest,
When when the pain is the
well,
highest and the hope is the lowest, what's the lie?
I think the lowest place I've ever been, the darkest, was people think that being hit by an SUV and going through 34 surgeries to save my leg from amputation was the hardest part of my journey. And it actually hasn't been. The hardest part of my journey and the lowest point and the lie I told myself was when I was living out of a bottle. I was never a drinker and I could not get out of pain. And so I used alcohol to self-medicate, and it became a problem. I went from athlete to becoming an alcoholic. And at my lowest point, I remember sitting there going, you know what? My husband could find another wife. My kids could find another mom. I was ready to give up. And so that was the lie that I told myself. And I started to pray And I think in that prayer and just asking for help, I still get emotional about this. It gave me the courage to reach out. And just reaching out, man, it took every ounce of courage that I had. But I believe that saved my life, being able to reach out and say, hey, I need help. I am not okay. I am not okay. What do I do? And, thank goodness, by the grace of God in 2016, I got my sober. I got my life back with hands trembling from withdrawal. It was not easy, but day by day, I started to better mentally, physically, spiritually. And to this day, my husband has been putting up with me. We've been together, married almost 20 years. And so I'm just grateful that I didn't believe that lie. And I think that when moments like that, when you're telling yourself self-doubt, fear creeps in, I tell you, I've learned to talk to myself instead of listen to myself, because a lot of times my self-talk is not good. Or when I listen, I'm like, oh, I hear, oh, you're not good enough. Get back in bed. You can't even walk today. You're never going to get better. Like all the things. And so I've learned to talk to myself and switch it. When the self-talk is not good, I learned to talk myself in a very positive way. Even when I pull up to the gym, and I don't know if you've ever done this, but I'll pull up to the gym and be like, well, I'm in the gym. Let me scroll through Instagram really quick. And then I'm like, no, I have to talk to myself and say, Amberly, get your butt out of this car, get in the gym. You're going to feel better for moving your body because it's going to move your mood. You're going to feel so much. Get in there, get her done, And so, yeah, that's probably the biggest lie.
You've worked with hundreds of women over the years. You've been on stages. You've spoken in front of tens of thousands of people. What would you say the lie is that most people are struggling with inside their head?
I really think the lie that I see most often is that not enough. You're not enough. You're not good enough. You're not smart enough. I mean, I've told myself all these things. And when I get down to, and I keep asking a client, and why, and why, and why, it seems to always boil down to they don't feel like they're good enough, or they don't feel like they are enough for a certain situation. And then sometimes I really feel like all it takes is one person to believe in you, to see the potential in you. One person could hug you and change your day. One phone call could change your whole mood. And so sometimes, like for me, I had a 1% chance of saving my leg from amputation, and I hung on to that 1%. So it doesn't take big movement it's the 1%. It's the one hug. It's the one smile, the one message, the one person who goes, oh yeah, I see this in you. And, I will never forget when I was going to do my TED Talk. And by the way, my TED Talk was the first talk that I'd ever given. I'd never been on a stage. And here I am at Berkeley with 3,000 people in the audience, scared to death. I was the only person that wasn't a doctor that was at the event. And the self-doubt, fear was, and I remember the website came up and I had a call. I was looking at the website and my husband was like, oh, wow, you're the only person that doesn't have a bunch of initials behind your name. And I'm like, yeah, I noticed
Thank
that. Thanks. Yeah, I see that. And the curator got on a call with me and I said, hey, I'm not trying to promote my book or anything, but is there any way we could put author behind my name instead of just my name? And, I was so insecure. Now I don't care. If it's just my name, it's just my name, but I was brand new and I was with all these doctors. And she said, Amberly, are you concerned because you don't have a P? And I said, well, yeah. And she goes, Amberly, you have a PhD in heart. And that's why we want you. And I cried and I was just like, wow, that one thing she said gave me the confidence to get up on that stage and stand on that infamous red circle And I was still nervous before, by the way. And actually, one of my clients told me something, and I'll never forget this. And so I encourage you, if you are in a place of fear, think about the hardest thing you've ever overcome and that you did that. And it's going to give you the confidence and the courage to move forward. My client said, Amberly, you made it through 34 surgeries. I think you can stand on the stage and talk. And I was like, so I did my push-ups and my prayer, and I went up there and did it.
I absolutely love it. What a phenomenal word. We could talk for another hour for sure. I want to start to land this plane. Thank you for sharing that. That's incredible. I did not know that about your TEDx talk. That's incredible that you did that. I want you to finish this sentence. I want you to finish this sentence, and we'll wrap this up. If you give me one word, how would you finish up the sentence? Most people don't realize that their greatest obstacle is actually
their greatest opportunity and joy. Can I add that?
That's more than one, but we'll let it slide for you.
Okay. It really is your greatest opportunity.
Amen.
Everything happened for us.
Amen. Amen. I love it. Amberly, you are such a gift. I cannot wait to see you in a couple of weeks. I'm so blessed to have you in my life.
I can't wait to see you. Oh my goodness. I can only imagine the energy in that room with you and Arjun and Renee and I and so many people. I had somebody that texted me, Big Dan, that texted me this morning. He's like,
Big Dan's
I'm
coming.
going. He's like,
we got people from all over the country coming. It's going to be fantastic. I love following you on Instagram. Where can people best find more about you, your book, and everything you got going on?
Okay, go to amberlylago.com and you can find out all the events, the books, the podcasts, and Jared's going to be on my podcast soon. Yeah. And then if you want to see behind the scenes shenanigans, especially with my dog Nugget and my daughter Ruby, go to Amberly Lago Motivation.
It's fantastic. You're a fun follow. By the way, Amberly's a Southern belle, if you cannot tell, from Texas. She's from Texas. Whenever I say Texas, I have to say it through the side of my mouth like that, like George W. Texas. Amberly, you're the best. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you so much. I know why people just love your podcast so much, because you're just so amazing.
You are awesome, girl.
Thank you so much.
Wow. Great stuff.
Thank you for having me on.
If this conversation sparks something in you, don't let it fade. Please rate, review, and subscribe on your favorite podcasting platform. Don't forget to connect with me online as well. Follow me at Jared Sebesta on Instagram, LinkedIn, and YouTube, or dive deeper at my website, jaredsebesta.com, where all my free trainings and resources are waiting for you. And remember, stop chasing the life you want and start becoming. This is the Breakthrough Effect. We'll see you next time.